Welcome to the EFS Modernization Training video series. This video will cover tracking SR attendance. So once a child is fully enrolled, once the parent has completed the terms and conditions and signed the payment certificate, that child enrollment will be considered done, and that child will then appear on the attendance roster. To see that, you want to come here to the provider home screen, go to attendance, manage SR attendance. From there, you will see the attendance roster generated for this month, for this service period. You see the program type, which is SR. The service period is going to be for that current service period, the coalition, and all the children that are on that provider's enrollment and attendance roster here. This is the basic view for this screen. In order to begin actually tracking attendance, you have to select the child's name from the roster, and that is when you will see the calendar for that child populate with the X's and the units of care. So I'll take some time now to explain why this calendar looks the way it does. So from June 1st through June 5th, the child was not enrolled with the provider. So the days do not populate with an X or a unit of care. They populate as blanks. So no attendance can be tracked or unit of care can be put there on those days. You see here on the 5th that the child has a unit of care, but no X or no A or anything for the day to be present. And that is because the child is only enrolled to attend at this provider on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So every other day of the week the child is not scheduled to attend, does not have a unit of care present. You may ask, well, why are there X's on every day for the child, but the child is not scheduled to be there every day? And that's according to policy that the attendance calendar must populate with X's every day for a child. So it will become the provider's responsibility on the days the child is not scheduled to attend. We'll go into that day and change that present to an enrolled non-reimbursable day for that child, and then save. And I'll repeat this attendance tracking process for you again just to show you how that's done. So that is how you manage those days the child is not scheduled to attend. There is a future story to only populate the present days with the child's authorized care schedule, but that has not been put in at this time. It will be put in the future. But for now, in order to properly track that child's attendance, every day that they're not scheduled to attend, it needs to be changed to an N, not an A. When a child is enrolled with a provider, they will automatically appear on the enrollment roster. Even if the child is not scheduled to begin attending until a later date, the child will appear on the attendance roster, but the provider will not be able to begin marking attendance. The anticipated start date that is input by the coalition is the first day of attendance that can be marked for the child. Clicking on the child's name in the attendance roster will cause the calendar to display the child's attendance information. The child's authorized days of care and unit of care are displayed. These are the days and units of care the coalition has authorized for child care. The child's current information section displays the additional information about the child's enrollment and attendance, this section. So any absences that need to be marked for the child, this is the process of doing so. So if the child is scheduled to attend on Tuesday, June 12th, but for some reason is absent, the provider is able to click on the X, and if they know the reason for the absence, let's say the parent called and the child is sick today, the provider selects child illness. If that parent brings in a document or emails the provider a document from a doctor, the provider can attach that document here and then save, and then that absence appears on the attendance roster as an A. In the event that on Wednesday, the 13th, the child returns, but they need longer care today. The child may have been scheduled for part-time services, but the parent has to work a double shift this particular day. Now the provider will be able to change the unit of care from a part-time to, let's say, a full-time for this particular day, and then save that as well. So in this new attendance roster, the provider is able to both track the attendance for the child and change the unit of care the child is served per day. and then submit that. And over in the child current information section, there's a count being kept on the number of days that are absent and the total days to be paid. This is going to be updated to not say paid, but total days present, because at this point it's not safe to say what days will be paid versus not paid. So we just want to say how many days was the child present, how many days was the child absent, and that the number will be reflected here. And in a future story, once we put in that the ends are not tracked as absences, the non-reimbursable days won't be counted as an absence day here. As you will see, there's an A, an N, and an A. So there are three things that are being considered as absences. Once we update the logic to recognize an N as a non-reimbursable, therefore not an absence day, that will be reflected here in the days absent as 2 versus 3 absent days. So once you have completed all of your attendance tracking for this child for the week or for the month, and you are satisfied with the information that has been input, you save the changes. At the end of the month, when it's time to submit this attendance roster to the Coalition for Processing and Reimbursements, before you submit it, you can do a summary look at the screen to see how many absences, and just to see it by child the attendance that has been recorded. This summary view doesn't show any changes to the unit of care that will be updated in a future story, but for now you can see the number of days present versus the number of days absent as shown here. Days absent, days present for each child. And if you want, you can print this roster by clicking print. So now I want to explain what happens when a child enrollment is terminated. So the provider is able to go into their SR enrollments, manage SR enrollments, and view edit SR enrollments, and from here you can terminate a child. So I've already done so for one of the children on the roster. I've terminated this child's enrollment. It has ended as of the 14th, at 6/14, for Purple Balloon. So when I go back to the attendance roster and I click on Purple Balloon's name on the attendance roster, what you see now is not exactly what will be once all the fixes are in. What's supposed to happen is every day from the 14th as the last day of enrollment forward should be marked with a T, and the unit of care should not be editable. So everything from the 14th through the 19th will be marked as a T so that the provider is not able to mark any type of attendance. The system records that termination, and it's already on file at the coalition that the enrollment was ended, it was terminated, and so no enrollment tracking is necessary or will be necessary after the provider ends the enrollment. But you can see here that the child's status is enrollment ended, terminated. Once all the fixes are in place, that will be reflected here on the calendar for the child so that there will be no confusion if this child is still enrolled or if they've been terminated.